History does not always announce itself with explosions. Sometimes it whispers. Across centuries of human conflict, empires have risen and collapsed chasing land, power, oil, ideology. But among all recorded predictions of future turmoil, one stands apart, not because of its scale, but because of its restraint. A prophecy that does not promise victory, does not glorify conquest, does not celebrate wealth. Instead, it warns. More than 14 centuries ago, the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, described a moment in the future tied to a river that has nourished civilizations since the dawn of recorded time, the Euphrates, a river that witnessed the birth of Mesopotamia, a river around which kingdoms were built, wars were fought, and humanity learned to farm, trade, and rule. And yet, this prophecy was not about water. It was about what would be revealed when the water disappears. The core hadith, the text that shaped everything. Among the most widely accepted narrations in Sunni Islam is a hadith recorded in Sahih Muslim, considered one of the most authentic compilations of prophetic traditions. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The hour will not be established until Euphrates uncovers a mountain of gold over which people will fight. 99 out of every 100 will be killed, and each man among them will say, 'Perhaps I will be the one who survives.'" In another narration, he added a critical warning. Whoever is present at that time should not take anything from it. This single sentence, "should not take anything from it," is the axis upon which the entire prophecy turns. Not a command to conquer, not a promise of enrichment, but a prohibition. Why this prophecy is different. Islamic tradition contains many signs associated with the end of times, moral decay, injustice, widespread conflict, but most are descriptive. This one is preventative. It does not say, "A great treasure will bless humanity." It says, "People will kill each other for it." And more strikingly, it assumes something deeply unsettling. Every participant believes they will be the exception. Every man thinks, "I will survive." This is not a prediction about gold. It is a diagnosis of human nature. What does a mountain of gold mean? Classical Islamic scholars approached this phrase with caution. They did not rush to literalism, nor did they dismiss it as metaphor without reason. Two dominant interpretations emerged. One, literal interpretation, a massive physical deposit of gold, exposed by the retreat or drying of the Euphrates. Scholars supporting this view pointed out, the Arabic word Jabal literally means mountain. The prophet did not qualify or soften the description. The warning against taking from it implies physical possession. Two, functional interpretation. Some scholars argue the phrase could represent an overwhelming concentration of wealth, not necessarily shaped like a mountain, but so vast that it destabilizes societies. Importantly, both interpretations lead to the same conclusion. Human greed becomes uncontrollable. What the prophet did not say. This is where responsible scholarship becomes essential. The prophet did not say when this will happen, who will discover it, which nations will fight, who will win. That this event definitively signals the final moments of the world. Islamic theology is explicit. The exact timing of the end remains unknown. Any claim assigning dates modern political actors or certainty is speculation, not tradition. Why the warning matters more than the event. The most unusual aspect of this prophecy is not the gold. It is the moral instruction. Do not take anything from it. Why? Because Islamic teachings consistently frame wealth as a test, not a reward. Gold, in the Quranic worldview, is neutral. Human desire is not. When wealth is pursued without restraint, brotherhood collapses. Justice becomes negotiable. Violence becomes rationalized. This prophecy is less about geology and more about temptation at scale. Historical context. Why the Euphrates? The Euphrates is not a random river. It flows through modern-day Turkey, Syria, Iraq, regions that historically sat at the crossroads of empires: Babylonian, Assyrian, Persian, Roman, Islamic. Gold has always flowed toward power centers, and power has always flowed toward violence. The prophet chose a river already soaked in history. Not a distant land, not a mythical place, but a real artery of civilization. Scholars' consensus, what we can say for certain. Across centuries of Islamic scholarship, there is agreement on several points. The hadith is authentic. The event is future-oriented. It involves extreme conflict. It serves as a moral warning. It is not an invitation to action. Where scholars differ is interpretation, not authenticity. And that distinction matters. A crucial misunderstanding in modern times. In contemporary media and online discourse, this prophecy is often distorted. It is presented as a treasure hunt, a geopolitical prediction, proof of imminent apocalypse. But traditional Islam never treated it this way. The prophet did not say, prepare to claim it. He said, avoid it. That inversion is the difference between wisdom and disaster. Transition from prophecy to present. For centuries, the Euphrates flowed uninterrupted. Empires fell, borders shifted, languages disappeared, but the river remained. Until now, in the modern era, something unprecedented is happening. Massive dams, water diversion, climate stress, shrinking riverbeds. For the first time in recorded history, sections of the Euphrates are visibly retreating. And that raises a question no previous generation had confront. What happens when ancient prophecy meets modern reality? End of part 1, the setup. This prophecy does not demand belief. It demands attention. Because whether one sees it as divine warning or historical coincidence, its core message is unmistakable. When unimaginable wealth appears suddenly, humanity does not unite. It fractures. And the most dangerous lie we tell ourselves is the same one the hadith warned about. Maybe I'll be the one who survives. Rivers are meant to feel permanent. They're supposed to outlast empires, outlive borders, and ignore politics. For thousands of years, the Euphrates did exactly that. It flowed while kings rose and fell. It flowed while religions emerged. It flowed while maps were redrawn in blood. But today, something unprecedented is happening. For the first time in recorded history, the Euphrates is no longer guaranteed to exist as it once did, not because of prophecy, not because of myth, but because of human decisions. The Euphrates, a river that built civilization. The Euphrates is one of the most historically significant rivers on Earth. Alongside the Tigris, it formed the heart of ancient Mesopotamia. Often called the cradle of civilization, this river enabled the first large-scale agriculture, early cities like Ur and Babylon, trade networks spanning continents, the foundation of law, writing, and organized society. For thousands of years, its flow was treated as a constant, until the modern age challenged that assumption. The modern transformation, how the river was engineered. In the 20th century, the Euphrates stopped being just a river. It became infrastructure. 3 modern states now control its flow. Turkey upstream, Syria midstream, Iraq downstream. Each depends on it, and each manipulates it. The most significant shift began in Turkey with large-scale water control projects designed to fuel development, agriculture, and electricity. Dams multiplied. Reservoirs expanded. Flow was regulated and reduced. From a natural system, the Euphrates became a managed one. Dams, power, and consequences. Large dams are not inherently destructive. They produce energy, stabilize water supply, and support populations. But rivers are ecosystems, not machines. On the Euphrates, dam construction has led to reduced downstream flow, altered sediment patterns, lower water levels in Iraq, increased salinity, agricultural collapse in some regions. What once flooded seasonally now barely reaches historic banks. Entire communities that relied on predictable water cycles are adapting or disappearing. Climate change, the accelerator. Human engineering alone did not cause this crisis. Climate change intensified it. Over the last few decades, rainfall patterns in the region have shifted. Temperatures have increased. Evaporation rates have risen. Snowmelt feeding the river has declined. The Euphrates depends heavily on winter snow in the Anatolian highlands. Less snow means less water. The result is a river under simultaneous pressure from infrastructure, climate, population growth. No ancient society ever faced all three at once. Iraq, where the river's pain is most visible. Nowhere is the impact clearer than Iraq. As the final downstream country, Iraq receives whatever water remains after upstream usage. In recent years, river levels have dropped dramatically. Tributaries have dried up. Marshlands have shrunk. Drinking water shortages have increased. Farmers have abandoned land work for generations. In some areas, the Euphrates no longer looks like a river. It looks like a scar. Water as a weapon, the political dimension. Water scarcity does not remain neutral. It becomes political. In the Middle East, water has increasingly been treated as a bargaining chip, a pressure tool, a strategic asset. Control upstream means leverage downstream. This reality has turned rivers into silent participants in regional power struggles. And unlike oil, water has no substitute. Can a river reveal what was beneath it? This question matters, not religiously, but scientifically. When rivers recede, they expose sediment layers, mineral deposits, ancient riverbeds, buried structures. Across the world, shrinking rivers and reservoirs have already revealed lost cities, shipwrecks, old mines, geological formations unseen for centuries. So the idea that retreating water can expose what lay beneath is not controversial. It is documented reality. The uncertainty lies not in whether exposure can happen, but what exactly lies beneath the Euphrates. Gold in geology, what science can and cannot say. Gold forms through specific geological processes, hydrothermal activity, ancient volcanic systems, tectonic movement. The Euphrates region sits near complex geological fault lines and mineral zones. Historically, small gold deposits have existed across parts of the broader region. But science makes one thing clear. No modern geological survey has confirmed a massive, singular gold deposit beneath the Euphrates riverbed. That absence of evidence is crucial. It means there is no proof of a gold mountain. There is also no proof that nothing exists. Science does not deal in prophecy. It deals in probability. And probability alone cannot dismiss what has never been fully surveyed. A key distinction, observation versus conclusion. This is where responsible analysis matters. What we can observe. The river is shrinking. Human intervention is accelerating that process. Political instability surrounds a region. Resource scarcity increases conflict risk. What we cannot responsibly claim, that a specific prophetic event is unfolding, that a massive gold reserve is imminent, that current actors fulfill ancient predictions. Crossing that line turns analysis into speculation, and speculation is dangerous. Why this moment is unprecedented. Previous generations believed the prophecy abstractly. They could imagine it, but not see conditions forming. This generation can. For the first time, the Euphrates is visibly retreating. Satellite images confirm long-term decline. Climate models predict further stress. Political tensions remain unresolved. This convergence is new, not fulfillment, but convergence. The psychological shift, why people are paying attention. When ancient texts describe events that appear possible, human psychology changes. People begin to connect dots prematurely, assign meaning too quickly, interpret uncertainty as certainty. History shows this pattern clearly. The danger is not the event itself, but how humans react to the idea of it. Fear spreads faster than facts. Greed spreads faster than reason. Transition from river to human response. The Euphrates does not make decisions. Humans do. Whether the prophecy is literal, symbolic, or conditional, one truth is unavoidable. A shrinking river in a volatile region changes everything. And when resources disappear or appear suddenly, the response is rarely calm. This is not yet a story about gold. It is a story about scarcity. Because history teaches one brutal lesson. When survival feels uncertain, morality becomes optional. And when hope attaches itself to a single resource, violence follows. Gold is not just a metal. It is memory. Across every civilization that ever mattered, gold became the final language of power. Not because it feeds people, but because people believe in it. Empires did not rise on gold alone, but empires collapsed when gold moved. If something extraordinary were ever to emerge in the Euphrates, the real danger would not be geological. It would be psychological. Why gold still rules in a digital age. In a world of digital currencies, algorithms, and paper money, gold remains untouchable, not because it is efficient, but because it is trusted when nothing else is. Even today, central banks store gold. States settle crises with gold reserves. Gold backs confidence when currencies fail. Institutions like the World Gold Council consistently show that during uncertainty, gold demand rises, not falls. This is not tradition. It is instinct, a resource that rewrites behavior. History is brutally consistent. When a rare, high-value resource appears suddenly, rules dissolve. We have seen this pattern before. Oil discoveries reshape nations. Diamonds fuel brutal wars. Gold rushes destroy communities. Rare earth metals now define geopolitics. The discovery itself is never the catastrophe. The response is, the moment of discovery, what happens first? If reports emerge, credible or not, of an extraordinary resource beneath the Euphrates, the sequence would likely unfold like this. Denial. Governments dismiss it. Experts argue. Media debates credibility. Leakage. Unofficial images, satellite data. Insider reports begin circulating. Speculation. Markets react. Gold prices spike. Investors reposition. Containment. States attempt to secure the area under the banner of stability. Militarization. Security becomes presence. Presence becomes control. This progression is not hypothetical. It is observable in every major resource conflict of the modern era. Why the Middle East is uniquely vulnerable. This region does not experience instability as an exception. It experiences it as a condition. Decades of external intervention, proxy wars, sectarian division, weak governance, armed non-state actors have created an environment where any extraordinary resource becomes immediately politicized. A discovery here would not be managed. It would be contested. State actors versus non-state actors. A critical dynamic in modern conflict is the erosion of state monopoly on force. If something of immense value appeared, states would claim sovereignty. Militias would claim entitlement. Foreign powers would claim interest. Corporations would claim contracts. This fragmentation is lethal because no single authority can enforce restraint. The illusion of control. Every participant believes they can manage the chaos. Every group believes, we will secure it responsibly. We will prevent bloodshed. We will stabilize the region. History records none of these promises being kept. Control is always assumed. Control is almost never achieved. The global reaction, why this would not stay local. Gold does not respect borders. If even the possibility of a massive reserve emerged, markets would react instantly. Alliances would shift. Strategic calculations would change. Why? Because gold alters currency confidence, debt structures, reserve balances, political leverage. In a fragile global economy, even rumors can trigger instability. The human factor. Why the hat is focused on people. The prophetic narration does not emphasize kings or empires. It emphasizes men. Each man among them will say, perhaps I will be the one who survives. This is not commentary on politics. It is commentary on psychology. Every individual believes risk applies to others. This belief is fueled every bubble, every war, every collapse. Not ignorance, arrogance, Why 99 out of 100? This figure is not a statistic. It is a warning. It suggests overconfidence, escalation, total disregard for consequence. When loss is normalized, death becomes acceptable. And when death becomes acceptable, restraint disappears. Modern warfare. Why this would escalate faster than ever. Unlike ancient conflicts, modern wars spread instantly through media, attract foreign involvement, escalate technologically, radicalize populations faster. Drone surveillance, precision weapons, all compress the timeline from tension to catastrophe. There is no slow buildup. There is ignition, the myth of profiting from chaos. Many believe we will extract value before others. We will leave early. We will manage risk. This thinking mirrors every speculative disaster in history. Gold rushes did not make societies wealthy. They made a few individuals rich briefly and destroyed the rest. Why the prophetic warning makes sense even without belief. Even stripped of religious context, the instruction remains rational. Avoid sudden, uncontested wealth in unstable environments. This is not theology. It is strategy. The real threat, meaning collapse. When societies fixate on material salvation, they abandon long-term thinking. Education declines. Institutions weaken. Violence becomes normalized. Gold does not just buy weapons. It buys silence. Transition from war to wisdom. At this point, the story could be told as a tragedy. But the prophecy does something unexpected. It offers an exit. This is the moment where humanity usually fails. Not because it lacks knowledge, but because it lacks restraint. The Euphrates prophecy does not predict war. It predicts temptation. And temptation has always been more dangerous than enemies. After everything that was said, after the gold, after the fighting, after the unimaginable death toll, there is one detail that refuses to fit. The Prophet Muhammad did not end the narration with destruction. He ended it with restraint. Whoever is present at that time should not take anything from it. Not fight wisely. Not claim your share. Not prepare. Walk away. This is where the prophecy stops being about the future and starts being about choice. Why a prophet would warn, not predict. Most apocalyptic stories do one thing very well. They remove responsibility. They suggest events are inevitable, that humans are passengers, that history cannot be altered. This prophecy does the opposite. It assumes humans can choose differently, and that most will not. The warning exists because ignoring it is optional. Is this a sign of the end or a test within time? Islamic theology makes a crucial distinction. Not every sign is a countdown. Some are examinations. This event is never framed as, when this happens, the world ends immediately. It is framed as, when this happens, people will reveal who they are. The focus is not chronology. It is character. What if the gold is real and still irrelevant? This is the uncomfortable question. What if the river continues shrinking, something valuable is exposed, conflict erupts, and humanity responds exactly as history predicts? Would that make the gold the center of the story, or merely the trigger? Because history shows us something unsettling. Human beings do not need gold to destroy each other. They only need an excuse, the pattern that never changes. Every age believes it is unique. Every generation says, we are more educated. We are more rational. We have institutions. And every generation repeats the same error. It assumes others are irrational, not itself. The hadith exposes this illusion perfectly. Each man among them will say, perhaps I will be the one who survives. This is not hope. This is denial. The real meaning of do not take anything. Why would abstaining matter if others are killing each other? Because participation legitimizes chaos. The moment you take part, you validate the conflict. You normalize the bloodshed. You surrender moral distance. Islamic ethics often focus not on outcomes, but on refusal to cross lines, even when loss seems guaranteed. This is one of those lines. A radical idea in a greed-driven world. Walking away from unimaginable wealth sounds absurd. That is precisely the point. Every moral system collapses when tested at scale. This prophecy describes the ultimate stress test. Unlimited value, zero stability, maximum temptation. And then it asks one question. What kind of human are you when no one is watching and everything is available? What if the gold never appears? This possibility is often ignored. What if the river dries, no gold emerges, no mountain appears, no single dramatic event occurs? Would the prophecy fail, or would it still succeed? By exposing how quickly humans prepare to kill over the idea of wealth, because the damage often begins before certainty. Rumors have started wars. Beliefs have destroyed nations. Expectations alone can destabilize regions. The twist: the mountain was never the point. Here is a truth this documentary has been circling. The prophecy is not obsessed with gold. It barely describes it. It is obsessed with behavior. Gold is mentioned once. Death is mentioned clearly. The warning is repeated. That imbalance is deliberate. The final revelation. Perhaps the mountain of gold was never meant to be chased, mined, or claimed. Perhaps it was meant to be refused, because the most dangerous wealth is not buried underground. It is buried inside the human mind. The belief that this time will be different. The belief that I will be the exception. The belief that morality is negotiable under pressure. What the prophecy really measures. Not geology, not economics, not geopolitics. It measures restraint, and restraint is the rarest resource of all. Final scene. Silence over the river. The Euphrates continues to flow, slower, stressed, uncertain. No gold gleams on its banks. No armies gather yet. But the conditions described are no longer impossible. And that is enough to force a question on every generation alive today. If the test arrived, would we recognize it as a warning or mistake it for an opportunity? Civilizations do not fall because they discover gold. They fall because they forget when to walk away. The future is not written in rivers. It is written in choices.